Okay. Hey, it's the 15th of May, 2024. This is Gimbalabs Live Open Spaces. We get together on Wednesdays and Thursdays at 14:30 UTC to get together and build stuff. We have an agenda that works like this. Anybody who's here can grab a sticky note and propose something to work on or talk about today. We review those sticky notes and then we arrange them into breakout rooms if there's stuff we have to all talk about together. Sometimes we spend a little time doing that, and other times we break out and just start getting things done. There's an archive of everything we've done here on this Miro board. It stretches back to the beginning of 2024 when we did some high-level work defining a primary driver for Gimbalabs. And we've been meeting since February with this open spaces structure. So without further ado, let's jump right in today. I know there's a lot to possibly do. What I do is set a timer for 2 minutes. There it is. Everybody has this Miro board. You can find 2024 515. Or if for any reason you don't have access to the Miro board, just drop a note in the chat or unmute to share what you'd like to talk about today, and I'll make sure it gets on the board right here. Before I press go, any questions about how we start? All right. Enjoy these 2 minutes. See you in a couple. All right, welcome back. It looks like there are two main themes today. So as usual, let's start by going left to right. Somebody dropped proposal finalization here. Anybody want to say a word about that?
Oh, that was just me. I just wanted to work on it and get it done today, hopefully.
Awesome. And then I saw somebody looking maybe one step beyond that, après catalyst proposal writing.
Yeah, it's like feels for me like après-ski time. Like it's not gonna get much better. I think it's good what I have got. So let's just do something else or just go.
You could spend any amount of time on a catalyst proposal, right?
Yeah, but yeah.
Cool. Are these, do you want to do two separate rooms, or is this okay to kind of relate these to each other?
No, it was I think I will do something else. It's just kind of like my vibe.
All right, cool. Yeah, feeling that too. And eager to be here. So the other big theme, hey Newman. Yep, we'll see you in a minute. So the other big theme, PPBL 2024. We've been working on it for a couple of weeks. There's been a couple delays just because we've rightfully been focused on a couple of other things. But we are ready really to push Module 100 out to the world and launch this. So I want to provide some updates there, think about how to officially announce it, and then just get to work on the Module 101 for next week, and we could talk more about those dates. Also wanted to do a quick check-in on how we're tracking contributions with the contribution prototype. We have Ken's commitment to the website in there right now. And then also tracking on Notion, so we can jump into all that. Is it okay if I just set up 2 breakout rooms for today, or is there anything else that anybody wanted to add? I'm going to make one called Catalyst Proposals, and another for PPBL work. But one of them can stay here in the main room, actually. So these can both be open. Let me just add a bonus room just so we have it in case anybody needs a space for anything else. I'll open those rooms. But what should we stay here doing in the main room? Do we want to do Catalyst stuff and break out for PPBL, or the other way around? Anybody have an opinion on that?
I think other way around. That's my opinion. Just because we'll all be working silently or going off topic, people who'd be watching on YouTube or something wouldn't make sense for them.
So Harsha has a motion to keep proposal finalization in breakout room. Juan in the chat says maybe the opposite. We need a tiebreaker. Anybody else with an opinion on this one? All right, cool. Let's give proposal writers some
Sorry, I
privacy.
want to keep the catalyst in a break room so it's not recorded because it might have interchange of sensitive information, I think. So
Yeah.
we can keep on discussing PBL in public.
Cool. I agree with that. And that sounds good to me. So we'll give the proposal writers some privacy. You've got a space to go work on that. If the proposals room gets too loud, you can slip into the bonus room or the PPBL one, and we will talk Plutus PBL 24 here in the main room. Does that slide underneath? Looks like it does. There we go. So that's our agenda for today. Thanks for hanging out. If you're dropping off, have fun in Catalyst land. Otherwise, we'll get going with PPBL right now. All right. So there were a couple things I wanted to run by everybody. So first, let's do this. Actually, let me share the Miro again for just a minute. So we did some initial planning of the course here on Miro, and we drafted some release dates a couple weeks ago, but we haven't met these deadlines. So, right, this was a first draft. This is okay. And we also had a first draft of who would be working on some of these early lessons. This helped us get started, but now this is all deprecated. Okay, so I'm going to put just a big sticky note over all of this and say, first draft of PPBL rollout plans deprecated. See Notion. Now let's get a link to that Notion board because this is where we'll really be organizing the work moving forward. It's a public board, I believe. Let me just confirm this. Deliver PPBL. Yep. Yeah, so here's the public link. Anybody, even if you don't have a Notion account, you can access this link to see the latest on this proposal. I'm going to change screen share now and show what you're able to see if you're actually logged into Notion. Because on the public board, the one thing that you won't be able to see is the task list down here. And as we looked at last week, we can view this as a Kanban board if you like to see it this way, right? Here's some lessons that are in progress. Or if you prefer a list, it's the same data, just two different ways of looking at it, okay? And what you can see is that the 100 level content is written. That's great. And the 101 level content is in progress. And we can look at this in just a moment in Andamio. One thing that changed is we removed 2 learning targets from module 101. So there used to be 6 learning targets here, and now there are 4 with 4 lessons to write. This might change again. There are other languages we might look at, and more on this in just a second, but I just wanted you to see how we're keeping track of things here. And then right here, we've got lessons for module 102 queued up because there's 3 of them. We'll look at those in just a moment in Andamio as well. For due dates, these are the proposed release dates for modules 101 and 102. So now right here in Notion, we can track what lessons there are to write. Every lesson has a writer and an editor, who's working on it. And if you don't yet have a Notion account, we can just write your name here as a contributor. And then the dates that each of these modules will be published. So these serve as final deadlines for each of these lessons right now. Before I switch over to Andamio to look at this content there, does anybody have any questions about how we're tracking progress here? Okay. We're building as we go with Notion, and if you need a Notion account, we can get you set up with that. I forget where we officially left off adding Harsha here. And he's not here. I'll follow up with him on that. But one by one, as people start to contribute to things, it's really helpful to have you in here. So we'll keep working on that. Let me switch over to Andamio now. Oops. Okay, so here we can, if you haven't logged in before, hopefully you can do that. We're continuing to refine the platform and, oh, I'm in the wrong window, sorry. I have a test Discord account that I virtually never use, but it's logged in one browser window. Let's try this one instead. There we go. Okay, I'm already logged in over here too. Trying again. There we go. All right, I'm logged in with my Discord account right here. Great. So now I can jump into the course studio. We can look at Plutus Project-Based Learning 2024, and we can see the course outline that we've already started working on. A relatively new feature here, you can especially tell it's new because this data is not formatted at all. It's just a little string here, but it says this module is scheduled for release on Wednesday, today. Oh, good. And it's ready. Okay, so module 100 ready. We can officially release it today. And I want to come back to a conversation about what that entails in just a moment. The rest, as we go down the list, Module 101, next Wednesday, that matches what's in Notion, and so on down the list, okay? I mentioned that there were fewer learning targets here now. I already removed the one about running Plutus TX locally, all right? One of the things we've learned in prior years of this course is if we start asking people to set up NICs and do all of the Haskell environment setup this early in the course, we lose a lot of people. So as discussed, we're not going to try to do that. And the only way we're going to initially show people how to work with Plutus TX is in Demeter, okay? I have the source code for this ready to go. I believe the Demeter team has cached the repo we're using for this, so it should load relatively quickly for people. And we have a pull request in to have our Plutus TX starter repo for this year's course as an official starter kit listed on the Demeter site. So that's a work in progress. Aiken, I'd like to work on today if we do have some dedicated work time after giving these updates. Helios, Alex has been working on. PluTS, Nelson has been working on it. We were just talking about it. An option we might choose to delete. All right, but we can. This is something that if anybody wants to take this on or reach out, I'm trying to remember the developer's name, but the developer of options, a really nice guy, and we can reach out to him and ask if he wants to include something here. Nelson, do you want to share anything about what we've talked about with PluTS, or does anybody else have questions about Module 101?
Yeah, PluTS. Okay, so we have a template of the faucet written in Plutus TX, and we're trying to get to that standard and those logic, satisfy those logic as a validator for the other ones. In PluTS, there are a couple of inbuilt functions that are available in Plutus TX, which is not available in PluTS. So there's a small blocker that is not allowing me to fit in two more validation logic. So the question is that, is it all right to publish a lesson with half-baked validation logic? But the contract still works, right? So we're not going to check the incoming datum and yeah, I forgot the other one.
The amounts, the incoming and outgoing amounts of tokens.
Right. Yeah. So otherwise, it's ready to go. But there's a little bit of blocker to satisfying. There are actually 5 validation logics in the template we have for the TX. Yeah, that's the point we're at.
Thank you for taking that this far already. And this is a good chance to kind of step back and think about the story that learners are getting as they work through this course. Okay, so some people have already played with Module 100. If you haven't already, you can see that. Let's actually take a look at the course view here. We go this way. So in the first, nope, we do it on the third lesson, right? So the third lesson, nope, that's the private keys one. Fourth lesson, this is where we finally introduced the PlutusPBL.io site. This is just a live example of the course repo called PPBL 2024 front end. So watch that flow again. We can use this over and over again, right? From the course, we link to this live repo. What's in the live repo? A bunch of examples like this. And where's the source code for this? It's in this Git repo right here. Okay. 3 contributors already. Newman, congrats and thank you. Nelson, thank you. And as other folks start to contribute here, including learners, they're going to start to see their names pop up here. That's going to be a really exciting experience. So what are we doing with this? Just think of this as a toy. All right. Plutus PBL is just a toy application that students are invited to play around with. Okay. And what are they invited to do here? Well, the first thing they can do is they can connect their pre-prod wallet and mint a token. That's great. And then if they have that token, they can interact with the faucet. Awesome. We can track how many people have gone through this step because right on the page right here, you'll be able to see a list of how many people have minted a token. Very exciting. But at the end of module 100, now people have already experienced the front end view of a very simple full stack application, the PPBL faucet. And that's what we transition to in module 101. We say, well, let's look at the validator that's used in the demo application for 100.5. And when we introduce validators, let's show people that validators can be written in a variety of different on-chain languages, starting with Plutus TX, looking at Aiken, Helios, Plutus, maybe others. Now, people are going to see a fully working version of this for Plutus TX and Aiken. We need to check how Alex is doing on the Helios one. But suppose at the very least they've seen 2 fully working examples. What if when they got to this Plu-TS example, we left it exactly how Nelson has it right now? We say, look, in those first 2 the first 2 examples, we showed that we're checking against, like Nelson just said, 5 things. We're validating against 5 Boolean checks. And in what we're providing here for students in Plu-TS, the message is, look, here's another on-chain language. It's called Plu-TX, Plu-TS. We've implemented a subset of the validation logic. And if you want to go deeper, you're invited to try to implement the rest of it. If you're not interested in that, it's okay. We just wanted you to know that this other alternative exists. How does that sound from a story perspective to everybody?
Sounds really good.
Can we work from there?
Absolutely, hands on Pierre.
And Nelson, we talked about, we can even show that the partially implemented validator in Plu-TS works, right? We can compile it. We can drop those parameters into the front end project, right? We can show people even just how to fork this or make a branch on the demo application and just replace a couple of variables. That could be a really cool thing for people to see. But so we can show a working transaction, even though we're not replicating all of the validator logic, which I think is actually, the more we talk about, I kind of like this idea. Nelson, what if we really commit to this?
Yeah, I can.
Cool. I think that's a really compelling way to deliver the course. Does anybody else have questions or thoughts about that before we keep going? All right, so next thing to look at. We've got a plan for releasing the course. We're tracking progress in Notion, and we've got this on-chain experiment right here. This is the Gimbalabs prototype. I demoed this to some folks last week. And give me a second. Let's see. Oh, all right, I got to restore. I have a demo wallet here, but you know what I have? Give me 1 second. I think I have a wallet loaded here. No, I thought I had these keys loaded on this computer. I don't. Give me 1 second. I need to open this up in another window. While I'm doing this, let me jump to a different question for everybody, because there's something I wanted to bring to the table here. Here's the Miro again. I dropped several sticky notes in. So I want to get to this contribution treasury check-in just a minute. We did this one. I think that's good. But this is my question for everybody. So if module 100 is ready to go today, and module 101 is coming out next Wednesday, what can we do to get the word out that PPBL 2024 is officially launching, and enrollment will be ongoing and modules will be ongoing for the next few months? Any ideas for what we can do today and the rest of this week?
Professor Simon Thompson launched today the Marlo project as a community effort, so out of the hands of IOG, and he did it in a really simple way. He just write a blog in the official website of Marlo website, explaining all the goals of the new program, and in that post he is inviting people to participate, not only as taking participating from different stages, as members, as contributors, as collaborators, as all this stuff. Yeah, maybe we can start from there.
I like it. And then Nelson added live coding here. Chris, what are you thinking?
I want to ask something about the announcement. Did you announce already something officially the day that PPBL 2024 gonna start, or not yet?
Not really. Sebastian, have we done any sorts of official announcements? I can't think of any.
No, not yet. Not yet. Anything has done on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
just waiting for the correct way to do it.
do you have any date in mind to officially start the PPBL 2024 already?
Okay, so this might be related. When you say that, are you talking about like the live coding sessions?
No, I'm talking about the PPBL 2024 course.
Oh, yeah, today is the day. It's
But nobody announced it yet.
well, that's why I'm asking about how should we announce it. So yeah, like we can as of right today, the course is live and ready to be announced. So I wanted to bring to this group, how should we go about announcing it?
Maybe, I don't know, it's just an idea. Maybe it could be a good idea to start making announcements on all in X and different places about a date, even if it's already, everything is live, but like to start catching people and then like put some date like in 1 week or 2 weeks. So people sometimes takes 1 or 2 weeks to everybody be aware of that. And then even if it's ready, I don't know, it's just an idea.
I agree with you completely. So this is a great thing for us to align on. When the course officially launches, it always launches with just a handful of modules. In this case, one module is 100% ready, right? So that's the whole idea here, is that people can sign up anytime. And a lot of people won't sign up today or tomorrow, but they'll sign up in a few weeks, right? And so, exactly to your point, we want to start announcing things immediately, today, tomorrow, right? Right away. As soon as we're ready, we start doing this because, like you said, it takes people, they need to see it a few times, right? And by the time some people sign up 3 weeks from now, that's okay, because now the first four modules will be live, right? 100, 101, 102, et cetera. So yeah, I think that's really the idea. What we want to start immediately is announcing that this thing is here, it's continuing to roll out, and everybody is welcome to start anytime. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I see Sebastian has a hand up.
Yeah, a few months ago, we have, in this moment, there are groups of study groups that are waiting for the Plurus PBL, the new version. One of those cases is the Indonesian community. Jan asked me 2 months ago if where about the launching of the new version, the date and when, because he has this program with this Indonesian university, and he's studying with the generalities of a blockchain, all this, and he needs to start to teach the technicalities. So my point is, an announcement soon, today or tomorrow, is necessary for some people.
Great. Okay. And yeah, so some of this starts to now connect
Yeah,
between circles.
yes,
Yeah.
and just for finish, and I can tell to Jan, okay, Jan, it's ready. Go to this URL and that's it. But maybe we can do it in a more formal way, more formal and public, and because I think that Jan is not the only one doing some teaching in their local communities. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Awesome. And so yeah, so this becomes a multi we have multiple different needs here. So this is really exciting to be thinking about how we do this. Social media posts, for example, that's anybody who's committed to outreach and advocacy. This is a place where we could use help. Even writing the blog post might apply to this circle. Live coding, let's talk about that in just a second. And then study groups, that's somewhere in between, right? Like we know we need the outreach because, like Sebastian just said, there's some study groups who are ready for this stuff. This also connects to community building, the kind of fractal way we're doing it. So now a picture starts to come into view about the multiple ways we will announce this, and whatever we do today, right? The minimum we can do today is put out a tweet, for example. A blog post takes a day or two to write once anybody commits to it. So we can maybe look for this by the end of the week or early next week, and we can start thinking about the individual communications. And so, Sebastian, maybe you could lead here the work of just highlighting who's waiting for this, right?
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
And then depending on who's waiting for this content, we can have dedicated outreach and support for anybody in that way. How
Awesome.
does that sound? What else would you add to this list right here for getting the word out?
James,
Mhm.
what about the live coding for PPBL
Yeah,
24?
okay.
Because
So
maybe it's
that's
a good idea to set up an official date together with the first live coding.
excellent. All right.
Yeah,
So
and because we have here, we can pack here several things. For example, Harsha is not there; is in the other room, but they would see this opportunity to launch his proposals, for example, and all the proposal, Catalyst proposals and stuff. So we could pack together in these X spaces, public spaces, several things. And undoubtedly, one of the most not well-known things is the Plutus PBA. So we have, my point is, we have a few weeks that we can deliver together and take the opportunity to deliver together those things. Because, for example, we need a push, an extra push for the Catalyst proposals. We need some presence, and being in the social media space, I can say that those the social media posts are in some point irrelevant because people tend to consume it and consume them, and that's it. And that goes to the loneliness in general. But yeah, my point is we can pack several things together, and you can use the social media, but social media is just for a quick consumption. That's it. Thanks.
Claudia, what do you think?
Hi, a couple of things. Yeah, I agree with Sebastian. Like you see an announcement on X or Reddit and it's something that is going to happen like today or tomorrow, then you click on it and you follow up. But if you say you announce it today to start in a couple of weeks, people kind of lose track. Or you can have to send a reminder again the day you start. So two things that strike me, like to have a live coding session, I think we should keep it dynamic according to how the registration of new participants go, because if nobody registers, we're not going to have an open space waiting for them and nobody shows up to the party, right? So I think it's sensible to wait to see how the registration goes. Instead of the promotion, well, I like for instance, that besides the social media outreach, I think several of us are involved in like WhatsApp groups, which are more to germane to local communities. Like for instance, here in Buenos Aires and Latam, they have this WhatsApp group and a newsletter that serves as a source of news more than some social media. So as soon as you put the post there, so I will forward them into these other channels, right, to reach out. And second, they have this, I think, weekly town hall spaces that people announce what's going on in the community. I know Sebastian participates in some of them, so hopefully he will announce them in those forums too. But those are my 2 cents on this.
Sure.
This is the idea of blasting the link out to local groups. That's really awesome. Yeah, that's really good. And I agree. So My feeling is that when you have something real to share, it's even more exciting to make a post. And so that's what we're going to have, right? What kinds of links can we share? First of all, we can share the link to plutuspbl.io, right? And so that's the link with the demo site that introduces the project. And anybody who stumbles upon this link is going to find the rest of the things. On Andamio, we can link people directly to andamio.io/course PPBL 2024. That's where they will start the course. Now, when it comes to the blog, should we host the blog at plutuspbl.io, or should we use the Gimbalabs blog site and just create a new post there? It's been a while since we've posted there, but we do have that resource and we can continue to do so. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, in this moment, we should wait for the, in my opinion, we should wait for the Ken's work to start to route the people to the Gimbalabs official page. And I think for the moment we should we could use the Plutus PBL site to host the announcement, in my opinion.
So we could have an announcement blog post. Oops. Initial announcement post on plutuspbl.io. And then we migrate that over to the Gimbalabs site when the updates are ready.
Sure. And if we, I think if we host the blog post directly in the Plutus PBL, that facilitates navigation to the Plutus PBL, to the modules.
Mm-hmm. Right.
People don't have to go to other site.
Any objections to doing it that way? We'll get an announcement post up on plutuspbl.io as soon as possible. And then we can think more in a long-term way about the Gimbalabs blog as the website updates start to roll in. How's that sound to everybody? Rock and roll. That's great. Okay, so this is a big step. We're basically saying that Gimbalabs.com is officially deprecated, and that's kind of exciting.
And talking about links, one of the, for example, a few yesterday or a few days ago, I used the link to the Asteria front end that you guys are working with Mesh. That is really interesting use case that attracts attention and not only attention, that helps people to imagine what is possible with the Plutus PBL. Ignites the imagination of the people.
Very good. All right, this sounds like a good plan for blog post. I'd be thrilled to draft this blog post. If I write a fast draft today, can a few people commit to giving some feedback on it today or tomorrow? Cool. I will draft that I'll make a first draft in Notion, fast and loose, and I'll drop it into the Gimbalabs PPBL Discord to get some feedback. And let's see if we can get that up by the end of the day tomorrow. So that's a nice piece of collateral. There's a couple of other things to include there. One of the questions, let's come back to this one, live coding. Okay, what about live coding? We have to distinguish between two things. One thing is the online course, and the other thing is the live coding sessions, right? These are separate. A lot of people read through the course on their own without ever coming to live coding. And a lot of people show up for live coding without really ever trying the course. We know both of these things are true. So they are unique. And at the same time, the live coding calendar follows the PPBL calendar, right? What we can say is, okay, well, this module came out last week, and we can start a live coding session by saying, does anybody have questions about it? And then obviously we open the floor. Anybody who's been there before, you know that we open the floor to any questions anybody has, and often end up going back farther in the course, and that's always fine. That's what the space is there for, okay? But the launch of live coding is separate from the launch of the course. So the question is, when are we going to launch it, the live coding part? When are we going to do it each week? And once that's done, we can update all the public calendars accordingly. And I'd like to do that before updating the blog post. So when are we going to do it? We used to do it at this time, Wednesdays and Thursdays, 14:30 UTC for 90 minutes. Now we're using that time for this open spaces session. Question is, do we want to add more separate meetings to the weekly agenda? Or maybe could we use one of these open spaces times as a live coding session, and right, therefore give people a chance, anybody who shows up for a live coding session, say on Thursdays, they could also find out, oh, on Wednesdays we get together, same time, same place, to do more general work. How would it sound to do one open spaces session and one live coding session every week?
It seems reasonable. So cutting down the open spaces to just one, and then there's basically dedicating one to the PVBL. Oh,
Thanks. Yeah, would there be any objections to that? I see Nelson in the chat. Wednesday live coding, Thursday open spaces and reflections. That's pretty cool. I like that. Anybody else have different thoughts? Claudio, sounds good. Thumbs up.
yeah, I'm thumbs up. And can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, cool.
All right, I see a lot of thumbs up, no thumbs down. So let's do this. Let's say, I'm going to just take Nelson's suggestion here. I love this. And the truth is, as time goes by, there's going to be overlap. In fact, I would say a success case for this work is that there's a meaningful overlap between these two sessions, right? This gives us a place to start. And in order to communicate clearly, we're going to make this distinction on the public calendars. But all of us know that over time, the two will blend together in some exciting way. Can we start this next week? Can we say that the first PPBL live coding session starts Wednesday, May 22nd? Let's do it. And the good news about this, so this has happened in previous years. Early on, while the word is still getting out there, some people don't show up with questions the first few weeks. Don't worry, we know what to do with the time. There's plenty to do. So if next week a bunch of students show up and they need help with module 100, awesome, we're there, we're ready to help them. If nobody shows up because they need help, then at least we still have that time to keep building the course, right? To put finishing touches on module 101 or to think ahead to the following week. So does anybody have any objections to officially launching next Wednesday, putting this on the calendar and seeing what happens from there? Oh, let me add a date to make it official. 05/22. Sound good?
Thumbs up.
Okay. So before blog posts, update public calendars, easy. We'll make some changes there. There may there may be some updated Zoom links incoming as we reshuffle things. What do you think? Should we use the same? Well, it can't have, if we want to have different names for these events, right? So people can register for the live coding event versus registering for open spaces. Those would need to be two separate Zoom links. If we used the same one, we might introduce a little confusion about what people are actually signing up for. Is it okay if we have separate links for Wednesday and Thursday?
Yeah, that's fine as long as it's, I always go to the calendar.
Good. So
yeah.
if the calendar is the source of truth and the
Yeah.
links are accurate there, we're in good shape.
Yeah.
And I'll update those right after, well, not right after, but an hour after this meeting. And I'll ping everybody when that's done too, because you might want to update if anybody uses the subscription link, you'll be able to update that. Cool. All right, live coding is going to be underway. That gives us something to write about in the blog post. Perfect. So in the blog post that we can say the course is officially live coding launches here, here's the links you need, and here's basically the idea of the course. We'll get that out. Think that's everything. Anything else to consider for live coding at this moment? All right, let's do a quick treasury check-in. So we looked a moment ago at, am I going to be able to share? We looked a moment ago at the Notion board, which showed the status of the projects. Now we can look at it from the contributor's point of view. If I connect a wallet with a contributor token, I can see that the 100 level lessons are ready to be committed to here. And so I'm just checking Notion off screen once again. This applies to Sebastian, Alex, Chris, Nelson, Harsha, all made contributions in one way or another. So all of you guys need the prototype contributor token, okay? So just hit me up. Can you send me a Discord message with a mainnet address that is accessible via a browser wallet, preferably Eternal, sorry. And make sure we realized this last week, don't use a hardware wallet for now. In fact, if it might be okay just to create a new one for this, that'll allow you to kind of have a sandbox for this experiment. All right, but you guys figure it out. Just don't use a hardware wallet. Preferably use Eternal. Send me an address and an alias, a name that you want on your token, okay? In my case, I have the name. Gimbalabs, no, that's not it. I have the name. I think it's just, well, let's copy that. Well, I forget what my name is. I think it's just like contributor 3 or something. Double checking. Oh, wait, yeah. So the name of this token is contributor-B-002. And I didn't call it my personal name because we're still experimenting. In the long run, I think we're going to find out that we don't actually want, well, I think a lot of people already know this. You don't want personal identifying information on chain. The question is, well, what should go on chain? That's what we're experimenting with right now. And we're experimenting with transactions. So just send me an alias that you want to use for your token. Choose whatever name you want, but just think about it. And then we'll get you one of these guys so that you can make commitments. Any questions about those next steps? All right, and once again, just checking the notes here, that is at least Harsha, Alex, Chris, Sebastian need this, and then Newman, you'll need one for lesson 101.4, it looks like. So if you want to get a head start on that, shoot an address and an alias over to me as well.
Okay.
You're all probably noticing, right, in the PPBL course and on pre-prod in prior years, we made this a self-minting thing, right? We're not yet putting up a self-minting portal for this experiment. Only the holder of an admin token can mint new contributors right now. And this raises the new questions that I'm over the moon excited that we get to play around with over the next few weeks. Okay. What do we get to play with? Well, who should be an admin? Who gets to decide when to mint new contributors, right? Ideally, it's multiple people. Who's a reviewer? Who gets to approve that a project is complete? Ideally, there's many reviewers in this organization. We're going to figure those things out as we go. Newman, see you soon. Okay, so these are the upcoming questions. All we've done for now is created a space to experiment with these questions. Now, one of those questions is in front of us right now. Let me switch to my admin wallet. We officially have, let's disconnect. Let's try that. There we go. And reconnect. I have a reviewer token. Okay. So Ken was able to successfully commit to the web work. As we decided, it's due in the middle of June, and there's going to be a presentation we decided on June 19th. So that's really exciting. As a holder of a reviewer token, I'm able to distribute this commitment right now. And in the long run, the goal is for distributions to happen after work is complete. All right. Now, we didn't quite account for that in Ken's proposal, right? Ken, I'm assuming that would help to have these project funds to support you while you're working on this right now. And that points to a lot of experimental questions, right? Is there a better way that we could split these funds up, for example? But does anybody have objections if we just make this distribution to Ken right now? Because that's what we kind of promised as we went through the S3 proposal process. Does that sound okay to everybody? Any objections to that? Okay. I just wanted to bring these questions to everybody because I think this is the thrilling bleeding edge of our research. Okay, so really, really excited to look at this with everybody and figure out, okay, somebody comes along with a month-long project like Ken does. How do we best split that up into parts? The word milestones. I don't mean to give anybody Catalyst vibes, but right, the word milestones comes to mind. Maybe there's some experiment we can do there. So think about it. Just know that that's on the way. But for now, let's do a live demo. Let's make sure this thing works. Okay, Ken's going to get his contributor token back, the rewards for the project. That's great. I can sign this guy because I am a reviewer. And it looks like it worked. Excellent. So that's going to be confirmed on chain right now. Congrats, we made a full loop. Ken, very excited for you to be running with that work, and we'll look forward to catching up on that in a month. Any questions about this part of the process? Nebiu, hey. Carlos, hey. Good to see you both. Welcome, welcome. There we go. All right, Ken, you should be able to check your wallet and see that that's there. And once again, remember that the list of 100 level lessons is already listed. And for next week, I'll add the 101 level lessons to the Contrib dashboard. So everybody who's working on those is going to be able to claim the rewards for those. In the long run, again, I want to reiterate, we get to experiment. Who's an admin? Who's a reviewer? If nothing else, I hope that everybody here can kind of walk around with those questions, and let's talk about those things in the weeks to come, okay? Because that really is the bleeding edge of the research we get to do together. Cool. So we have covered announcing PPBL. We've got some good next steps for that. Publishing module 100, that's ready to go and can be included in the blog post. We took a look at Notion. We took a look at the treasury. It looks like all that's left to do is now think about how module 101 is going to get done. We have a few minutes. Is Hinson still here? Hinson,
Yeah,
can we do a 15-minute jam on Aiken and think about that for a minute?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do it. All right.
So
So I have a repo here that's also linked. Let me show you this way, actually. All right, so I'm going to go back to the Plutus PBL site. Here it is. In the course repositories menu at the top of the page, which is unresponsive because of this Zoom bug. Ha, that's funny. Why does that happen? Will it work here? There we go. Okay. So course repositories, this is the one I already showed you. This is the site we are looking at right now. Then we have another link to PPBL 2024 Aiken examples. It's a different repo. Here it is. This has the PPBL faucet in it. Great. And so anybody can check this out. You can play around with it. I'm going to open up this repo locally in VS Code, just because I had a few questions about it. I know Hinson has been playing with this, but if anybody else has expertise, I would love to lean on you as well. So I'm just opening this up. Let's look here. All right, so PPBL faucet validator. Nelson said there are 5 checks happening. Do I have all 5? So I'm checking that the input and output datums are the same, that the auth token essentially is sent back to the sender. The faucet output is sent to the sender, the right amount. Faucet gets back the remaining tokens, and then the output. Okay, yeah, what did I do here? Output to pup key hash, that's this. But where's must send token to sender? Okay, okay. So yeah, here's why I split these things up this way. I said, well, first of all, let's make sure that the access token, in this case, the PPBL token, is in one of the inputs and is in one of the outputs. Okay, so some token with a symbol that is defined in the params, access token symbol, and a name that's defined in the redeemer, right? So at the moment of building this transaction, the person claiming from the faucet is going to say, okay, yep, I'm the one making this claim right now with this token name. Then we say, okay, well, can we find one of those tokens in an input, symbol and name? And can we find that token in an output as well? Okay. Now, this just checks that the token is in the transaction, but it doesn't check who it's being sent to. So then we do this thing. We say, well, if there is a PPBL token output, get the address of that output, and then check that it's the same as the address that it came from in the input, right? So this is how Aiken handles UTXOs. An input has a reference and an output. An output is just an output. Okay. So we want to check, now that we've seen these both exist, we want to check that the address on them is the same. But even that's not enough, right? So this, maybe there's a better name than must send token to sender. No, I think that does make sense. The sender of this token must also receive it. That's all that's saying. And this needs to be commented as well. But then what we're not checking is that this address, here we check that it's the same, but we don't check that it's any particular address. That happens down here. Okay, so we say, okay, PPBL token output, the address on that output, we already confirmed it's the same as the input, but an address type in Aiken has a few fields. One of them is a payment credential, and we want to check that that's equal to the sender pub key hash. The sender pub key hash is defined in the redeemer, just like the name. But this is my question. I don't think I have the types right. So Hinson, based on what I showed you so far, what, I mean, these types are matching right here. So this payment credential on the address has the type credential.payment credential. But if I want to use this, I don't think it's just the pub key hash. So I'm not really sure how to test this transaction. Is my question making sense? And do you have any insights about that?
I think so far so good, but probably we could build some unit tests to see if, yeah, it works well.
Let's do that. Okay, so if we're writing a unit test, that goes directly in the validator file, or do we put that in utils?
Maybe just keep it simple right on the below.
Yeah. And so what would you want to test? Right, to really do this correctly, we would test all 5 of these. But what, so
Yeah, I think so. Let's do it.
let's test. I want to run a test that helps me really understand better how addresses are constructed here.
Yeah, I'm now reading through your code. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward indeed. I could also try to write the test. Maybe I can take your screen share on this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. I can stop.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I have some utils actually, and I will just use the utils that I have been using so far.
Yeah.
And
for anybody, so in the PPBL course, we introduce Mesh, and we're going to link out to a dedicated Mesh PBL course. Similarly, Hinson and I have been outlining an Aiken PBL dedicated course. So in our course right here, people are going to be introduced to Aiken. They're going to see the faucet. That's all well and good. And then we're going to be able to call to action so that anybody who wants to go deeper can look at the dedicated APBL course for that.
give me a moment. I'm trying to find the usual code patterns that I always using. Just don't have to really rewrite everything from scratch.
Thank you. Yeah.
Being a little bit lazy here.
That's what I needed, my friend. Thank you.
Can you still see my screen right now?
It looks good. Yeah, we can see the code editor now.
Yeah, cool. So maybe I'm opening up thing. Give me 30 seconds. I'm not sure where I could find it. Probably somewhere in the mesh repo, but I have to find it.
And we don't have to race the clock to do this now. This is, thanks for even just opening this up. Do you want to push a few tests here asynchronously? And then if we have time, that's something we can look at tomorrow.
Give me just a sec.
All right,
It should be
go.
really handy, actually. Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
It should be really handy. Because I've just written that in the previous 2 weeks. So I've quite a lot of yeah, I found a sample file. So usually I will try to write a type on the test case. So for example, now we want to test on the 5 thing. So for example, first thing, this is for step date term correct, right?
Mhm.
And second is maybe we just take the same naming here. So this I could define the base test case. And then usually I would just write a function which is get the test transactions. So basically from here, at the end of it, we're returning the placeholder transactions. While there's no linting. So scary. I should have, yeah, I should be asked to import this.
Somebody posted a question, and I couldn't get the language server to work for myself yesterday, but I'm still very, very new to Aiken. But somebody posted that it was not working as expected last week.
I see. Maybe I have to. Sometimes we need to go into the. Wait a second. I try to share another screen. Yeah, it's working right now.
Huh.
Because sometimes the language server it requires us to going into the file in the script level. So what we have just did before is we are going into the VS Code in this level, but we
Right.
have to go into the VS Code in this level. You need to trigger the
Oh,
the
that's
language
exactly
server.
what I did. Okay. That
Yeah.
I did not do that.
So this is a basic kind of transaction. This is a helper from the icon team, which is just giving everything empties. So we can probably just start from there. And then we start writing some mock test case. So just to initialize everything, and I would just do something like this. I'm just directly copying out from other
Perfect.
test
Yep.
case I write on the script with other mesh repo. So these are some of the utils that I have been making in
that's what
my
okay.
my package, which is just
Goodness.
able to be installed by everyone. So for example, here we could go into the source code to check what is this actually like. It's basically just getting a bunch of mock values so that we could just directly build the type easier for unit testing.
This
So,
is exactly what I needed yesterday. Thank you.
Yeah. So then we go for the datum. I'm not sure what we should test, but yeah, I just try to put in anything that looking makes sense. Like for example, 100, testing name or testing total name. And for the redeemer,
We could have
I'll
an
show in the-
input datum and an output datum, for example. Yeah. And because really all we're checking is that they're the same.
what is the redeemer indeed? How should I input the redeemers for my testing?
Well, so this
Yes.
was my question, right? The token name is easy. It's just a string, right?
Yeah.
And it's got to match the one in the datum. No, it doesn't match the one in the datum. Sorry, this is the access token. But the sender pub key hash, we in the Plutus TX version of this, we are using the pub key hash. But I don't understand. This was the question. Whether what's the field called in address?
I see. So if you are doing the payment credential here, it's probably just a what is it? Credentials. Okay.
Right.
Now I remember something. So
Right.
this type
Payment
meaning
credential.
something. Yeah.
The reason
so it's actually just a wrapper.
This is a wrapper for what?
This is a wrapper for the payment key hash, as I remember.
It is.
Usually for me, I would just use byte array because I'm lazy. But if you're like here, I just use this type because it's actually just the same, the lower level type of what the payment credential is. But if we really look into, yeah.
Can you try that for me? If you change that back to byte array and just run Aiken check, does that throw an error?
Okay.
Yeah, it already does. You can see it up above.
I see.
Yeah, right. So
output
because there's a different way to do this part, I'm sure, the left-hand side of this check on line 95. And that's what I wasn't sure of, right? Is it better to convert somehow the payment credential in an address just to a byte string that would behave like the pub key hash that we're used to playing with in Plutus TX?
Not exactly, I think. I'm checking on the type signature. Yeah. So this is I just checked on the documentation. This is a type signature for credentials.
Yeah.
So if you do the type credential, you can see it's actually just a wrapper. Like this one is just identical to the constructor zero that we usually look in the off-chain landscape. But here we can see there is a hash inside,
right,
which is just directly the byte array. So what does it mean for this? I could just also explain a bit. It's just it's just the practice of Icon team to just noting down that this byte array is indeed using the byte 2b to hash it, while in length of 224. What does it mean by 224 is 56 bytes. I remember it should be. So it's just having some information on the length of the byte array. So if you are using byte array directly, your validator could be kind of still passing if you're inputting 64 bytes. So it's a kind of the extra strict checking in the type. So in practice, we can use both of them, but probably we don't want to use the payment credential because it introduces a little bit of inefficiency when we want to get into one layer inner into the verification credentials. So yeah.
So it's probably best to do a little bit of work right here on line 9. We can leave it as a byte array on line 15, but maybe
or we can just do this. This is as a best practice, more or less. Just using exactly the type that this is using. However, this is just at the end of the day, this thing. So here we could because we have identified the output, right? We have the address, and what we want to do is just getting it. I remember, is it not zero? How to get the
right? It was the first index, but I can start from that that gives me a place to start and follow up. If you find it and want to push it, that's great. But if not, I can play with it too.
Hopefully
This brings us great. Oh,
it's just this.
okay.
How should we name that? This is output, but I just
Sure, for now.
try. Yeah, so there's a way to do it. We use an expect keywords to pass it into the type to extract what's in a, what's the things that are inside, and then we can do the tracking like this. So there's a slight improvement onto this type that just
Thank you.
perform.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so we could continue writing the test case.
Unfortunately, I'm late for my next call.
Yeah.
So
we are on
we are
time already.
No, that's great. I'm so excited that we got to this, and I know it took a while because there was some administrative stuff to get to before this. But can we pick it up right here tomorrow too?
Yeah, for sure. Let me just create a PR and that's we
Thank
could
you, sir.
chat on that.
Beautiful.
Probably failing the CI, but yeah, we can continue
What
it
CI?
tomorrow. Yeah, there is a kind of default GitHub action CI inbuilt in icon in it, so it
Oh,
automatically
really?
help you to run the checking. Usually when you push on GitHub.
Well, you see, I didn't know that either. Excellent. All right, this
Yeah.
is fun. All right,
We can
more to
continue
come.
tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry to be cutting it short, but it feels really exciting.
Yeah, I didn't
same
watch
time,
the
same
clock.
place. Always. I know, I love losing track of time. Well, y'all, we're here Wednesdays, Thursdays, same time, same place. I'll update the calendar and ping everybody today. And really looking forward to whatever we do over the next few days. Thanks for hanging out. Carlos, thanks for the note. Yeah. Appreciate it. All right, y'all. See you soon. Have a good one.